Hi guys, welcome to the channel. In this review, let's talk about The Inventor, Out for Blood in Silicon Valley. It's a 2019 documentary directed by Academy Award winner Alex Gibney, who's directed Enron, The Smartest Guys in the Room, HBO's Emmy-winning Going Clear Scientology and the Prison of Belief, about the rise and fall of Theranos, which was led by Elizabeth Holmes, and how spectacularly this supposed startup and the star of the Silicon Valley fell in a soup after an investigative report in the Wall Street Journal in 2015. Uh, the rise and fall of Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos has been very fascinating to me. If you've seen the scam in 1992, there are a lot of stories about companies and individuals who've gone rogue. But over here, it was about this startup that cheated investors of millions of dollars, over 500 millions of dollars, even billions of dollars, and also ended up endangering the health and safety of people. So Elizabeth Holmes dropped out of Stanford at the age of 19, and she comes from a very powerful and influential family. And she raised money for her startup, which is Theranos, which aimed to detect over 250 types of diseases from a drop of a blood. She was out there to revolutionize blood collection, blood testing, and she wanted to do it with a device called the Edison. It was the size of a microwave oven, a little larger than that, and that one device could supposedly conduct over 200 types of blood tests and give patients an accurate results. With this, she wanted to democratize the entire testing industry and break the shackles of two of largest uh, blood tests and pathology labs in the United States. What seriously unfolded is that Elizabeth Holmes was indulging in unethical practices and was trying to cheat patients, hospitals, diagnostics labs with her false claims. When they started peddling out lies about how efficient their tests were, behind the scenes they were manipulating the test results, they were giving fake test results to patients, they were giving fake test results to doctors, and most importantly, they disallowed any outside criticism of their startup and of their product. They did everything behind closed doors. Their investors had no clue what was going behind, and their investors and board of directors were very, very influential people. Tim Draper was one of their investors. Then Mr. Murdoch, owns a media empire, and they had like the former chief of staff on their board. They had former secretary to the presidents, influential people in the military, senior governments, the who's of who, including that Henry Kissinger. Uh, this story broke in 2015 when Alex Carreyrou of Wall Street Journal broke a story by using insider information on how the startup was manipulating test results and how the startup had reached a valuation of $9 billion by cheating and lying its way through a bunch of investors and creating this mythical unicorn startup. Elizabeth Holmes, as a character, comes across as someone who's very striking. She's a woman founder, and she modeled herself after Steve Jobs. She used to talk with a fake, deep baritone and wore turtlenecks to resemble like Steve Jobs. She often quoted Steve Jobs and idealized him to such an extent that she felt that she could lie her way if the end goal was noble. And as Alex Carreyrou calls it, it's the moral corruption. She felt that if the end goal was to democratize medical testing, healthcare, make it cheaper and more affordable for more people, then whatever means that she justified to achieve that uh, were absolutely correct. And what ended up happening is, interestingly, as you see this documentary, you will realize is that she hid actual results from patients. So, for example, let's say you had syphilis or you had cancer, then the reports would say that you don't have any of these diseases, and she would her test results would lie to end users who actually ended up testing on her devices. There was often a time when, out of the 250 odd blood tests that they could do and detect various diseases, it didn't work for over 200 of them. And that machine that she was trying to make with her staff ended up being a complete failure. This is an absolutely fascinating documentary on perhaps a big scam that in the Silicon Valley that people have forgotten about simply because this case is still under trial. Elizabeth Holmes faces over 20 years in prison, and she was involved with this individual called Sunny Balwani, who is of an Asian descent and who was 19 years elder to her. And they pretended to be this couple, and they were secretly dating without informing the staff, and they manipulated test results, they lied their way, they cheated their way essentially. And Elizabeth Holmes positioned herself with the greats of Silicon Valley, including Mark Zuckerberg, Chad Dorsey, the founder of Oracle. She even raised $100 million from Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle. So when the story broke, it created shockwaves across the industry, and people couldn't believe that just because of her stature, just because she positioned herself as a successful woman founder, she had conned herself through this entire process of over 12 years of misleading the investors. Now, she did not come from any medical or scientific background, and to do a startup in the medical space is extremely difficult. Innovation in medicines often take decades. That's why you see that people who win Nobel Prize in medicine are in their 60s and 70s, because it takes a long time to cure a disease, to find a vaccine, and things like that. Elizabeth Holmes did not have a medical background. In fact, people in her board also, none of them were doctors. And when in the documentary, which is 1 hour 54 minutes long and you can find and watch on Hotstar, the initial skeptics of her startup and the efficacy of her device, Edison, were doctors, and Elizabeth Holmes quietly brushed aside all of them to go ahead and paint this fake picture. The story came to light when one of the employees leaked internal information to the Wall Street Journal, which came out with this scathing piece. I highly recommend that you check this out on Hotstar. The documentary is quite technical, but it's not overtly technical that it will overpower your understanding of the medical field. And if you are somebody who belongs to the medical fraternity or has understanding about the complexities involving healthcare, you'll absolutely enjoy this documentary. That's mostly about it. Thank you for watching this review. This is one of the few gems that is hiding on Hotstar that I think more people need to see and need to understand that your ambition may not always match your reality. It's easier to create a pure tech startup. It's easy to create an app and you can scale your way by getting millions of users. But if you're trying to do something that involves the lives of real people and the way it impacts them, their families, their health, their well-being, and if it ultimately can end up, resulting in their deaths, then you can't achieve success overnight, and definitely not a $9 billion valuation, which made Elizabeth Holmes one of the youngest self-made women entrepreneurs in the world with a $4.5 billion net worth. Absolutely riveting documentary, something that will shock you, something that will make your gut wrench and out of disgust. And maybe it's a cautionary tale for people who want to, who are over ambitious but have no feet planted in the reality. Definitely go check it out. The Inventor, Out for Blood in Silicon Valley on Hotstar.